What's happening, fight fans, and welcome to the first episode of the MMA Mindset podcast. This is a podcast that I started back in lockdown with a friend. We did it for a couple of years, sporadic episodes, never really had much consistency. But I'm coming back to bring this back and do weekly content, either regional roundups, which is what today's show is going to be, covering Almighty Fighting Championships. We'll be covering FCC, Golden Ticket, Battle Arena, UKFC, all the big regional shows in the UK, as well as Cage Warriors, PFL, UFC stuff, content like that. Like I said, going to have guests on. Got a few guests lined up who will be really exciting. Few pros, few amateurs. But no, really excited. Rebranded the whole thing. The person that I did it with originally, a mate of mine called Cal, he will be on a few of the episodes. I think he's gonna jump on the regional roundup episode of FCC in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, that would be really exciting. But no, really excited to get this sorted. Invested in a lot of new gear, and like I said, going to bring some real consistency to the show. So for the first show, like I said, it's the first episode of the regional roundup. Luckily enough, got to attend Almighty Fighting Championships 30 on Saturday. Great show. Ray and Liam and all the staff, they put on a fantastic show every single time. I think this is the fourth one that I've been to, and always perfectly run show. Make you feel so welcome. I did that on behalf of Combat Sports UK, who I do a lot of work for on the regional circuit. Like I said, great show, fantastic fights. The matchmaking's perfect. Not some of these other shows that you see where people maybe get favourable matchups. In the main event, it was Jordan ONeill versus Joe Ambler. Joe Ambler is a mainstay of Almighty Fighting Championship. He was a double champ, and he got a really difficult fight. Obviously, that we'll go over later on in the show. But no, without further ado, let's get into the card. Like I said, great show. 23 fights. Unfortunately, we lost. We did lose one fight the day before. Actually, the morning of the fight. Unfortunately, we did lose one of the Calvin Mooney versus Brandon Klein fight, which was going to be a great fight. Got the chance to speak to Brandon. He just talked to me walking past that I've spoke to him a few times, and he was really unhappy about it. Quite angry, obviously. He's put in the work to get the weight down. He said really disappointed, but hopefully he'll get on a card soon, and we'll be able to see maybe that fight get put back together, or maybe Brandon move on and fight someone else. Opening the card was a women's catchweight bout between Georgia Hackland and Caroline Plumley. This was a great opportunity for Georgia, fighting someone with a little bit more experience, something to bring to the table, maybe to oppose her style. Georgia's a very good striker. Obviously, has worked a lot on the grappling and our takedown defense, and even the takedowns that we saw in the fight. But someone that was going to pose a little bit more of an issue for her maybe than her first two previous fights. Georgia passed flying colours, looked amazing, looked really strong in the clinch. She looked really quick. Her grappling was much improved from what we've seen previous. So she did actually say before the fight that she was going to see a more improved version of herself, and she certainly came through with that. She got unanimous decision. 30-27 is what I had it. One of the judges did put it 29-28 in favour of Caroline, which was a bit of a strange one, but MMA judging, it's never no one really ever agrees. But undefeated now, Georgia at 3-0. Like I said, really impressive. A lot of potential. Could possibly be fighting for a title. I know the regional scene of women's MMA it's a bit of a struggle to maybe get matchups that are well evenly matched. Especially if you're going undefeated, it's hard to find maybe another undefeated fighter who kind of on the same show and is willing to fight you. So, like I said, Georgia, she's probably maybe one or two fights away from a title shot, but she's still really young, and looked absolutely fantastic. So yeah, well done, Georgia. In the next fight, it was the big boys, Matty Crooks versus Ajani Sturge. What a fight from the first bell. It was a frantic pace for the heavyweights. Something that you don't really see in the heavyweight division is two fantastically in shape men, like big men, and like fantastically in shape. Great stamina, great cardio. and they just went to war from the first bell. Matty Crooks kind of dominated the first and the third round. The second round was a little bit harder to call. Ajani got some good moments in there, but for the most part, Matty looks pretty in control. After speaking to him after the fight, he said he just thought that his cardio held up a little bit better. He had a little bit left in the gas tank, and he did feel stronger than him in those in those grappling exchanges and just in the fight in general. Like I said, Ajani put on a great performance as well. It takes two to have a potential fight of the night candidate. So props to both of these gentlemen. Matty Crooks, you couldn't hope for a better display and a better fight to go into for your for your debut. Like 9 minutes, 3 rounds, you really learn something about yourself in those sort of situations. So no, fantastic debut, and looking forward to seeing Matty in the future. Hopefully, like I said, he's got a couple more left in him this year. And then moving on, fight after that, Jack Banks versus Sam Mastro Pietro. Absolutely great fight and an unbelievable comeback by Jack Banks. Just a show of heart and determination, which is really inspiring. He was 2 rounds down going into that third. His front leg was really compromised. He was having some issues with it, struggling to stand, kind of struggling to kind of move around the cage. So he came out there in that third round, and it looks like his coach has just said to him, "Look, you need a finish. Go out there and get it." And then that's exactly what he did. Came out, got the position, locked in, and an unreal triangle choke. And like I said, what makes it all the more impressive is the fact that he did that with the compromised leg. To be able to get that position and get that squeeze still for the triangle choke, even though your front leg's basically not even there anymore, is really impressive. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to speak to him after the fight, but as I said, I think he was just celebrating with his team, maybe getting that leg looked at. But no, like I said, fantastic comeback. Probably one of the slickest transitions into a submission that I've seen this year. It was phenomenal, and all props to Sam as well. It's just unfortunate he did everything right for the first 2 and a bit rounds of that fight, but sometimes you just get caught in these submissions. Sometimes you don't maybe you underestimated his opponent going into the third round thinking, oh, yeah, I've got this guy. He can't really walk on his leg. He's not really got much left for me. Maybe he took his foot off the gas a little bit for that. But no, all the props to Jack Banks and his team. Great submission, and like I said, a bit of an inspiration to overcome adversity. Later on in the card, we had George Furner versus Jorge Galdo. Furner looked fantastic in this fight. He had an opportunity in the first round to finish him, where he was landing ground and pound. The referees were letting the fights go in this card. I don't know whether they were just obviously giving the fighters opportunity to advance position, to defend, to get open, to just kind of show a little bit of heart. But I do feel like some of the fights could have been stopped a little bit earlier. This one certainly could have been stopped in the first round. Like I said, it didn't really make much of a difference to the end result, because a little bit of a shaky second round, but then back in the third round, he got the position again, and this time he kind of made no mistake, relentless on top, landing strikes, and yeah, the referee stood in, stopped it. Like I said, could have been stopped earlier, but it didn't really make a difference to the result. The result was just 6 minutes later, and maybe George appreciated getting that extra time in there. So no, fantastic performance by George. Moving on to the main card, we had Lorenzo Parente versus Jordan Allen from Fourth Dimension, which is just down the road from me in Long Eaton. This was a fight that I had pinpointed a couple of weeks ago, basically when it was announced, and it was a great fight, and two of the best amateurs coming up, and it certainly delivered for the forever how long it went on. Lorenzo got the rear naked choke in the first round. Like I said, he looked fantastic, and Jordan's no slouch. Jordan's a really good fighter, so that just makes it all the more impressive for Lorenzo. Just makes it a really, really, really good victory and something that he can build on. Like I said, he's got a great record anyway. He's melting people with submissions, and yeah, like I said, looking forward to seeing what he can do maybe as a title fighter almighty in the future. Well, I certainly hope so, and like I said, hopefully I'll be there for that one. Moving on to a fight that maybe, I don't know if it flew under the radar a little bit, but Jamal Raja versus Luke Richardson was possibly one of the highest level amateur MMA fights that I've seen in the last year. Unbelievable skill on display by both men. They were fantastic. Keeping range, firing off the jab, and it was one of the only fights that didn't have a very grapple heavy feel to it. There was a lot of grappling, which is it's absolutely fine by me. I love grappling, but it was nice to see a bit of a technical kickboxing Muay Thai match. It was fantastic to watch. Both of these fighters would not look out of place in the pro ranks. That's the first thing I said when the fight finished, was they would both seemingly go straight into the pro ranks effortlessly, not really have to adjust too much. They both look fantastic. They both had great cardio. Striking, it's the little things that you see. It's the little feints and the fluidity, moving from stances, moving in and out, just things that you see from pros that you sometimes don't see developing amateurs until maybe the later few fights. But these guys could easily have transitioned to the pro ranks after this fight. But I think there's a few more fights in them for the amateur, just to gain that little bit of experience before they step up and get to the pro ranks. Jamal Raja took this by unanimous decision, but it was super close fight. Jamal, I think, just took a fight to him a little bit more. Landed some of the bigger shots. Landed quite a few leg kicks, which I think might have swayed the judges a little bit, and controlled the cage a little bit more. But like I said, it could have gone either way. But probably Jamal Raja was the rightful winner there. Moving on to the first title fight of the night, Malik Bezahal versus Jack McLaughlin. I'd seen Jack fight at Battle Arena Coventry, where he won his first title. He's a super talented kid. He's only 20 years old. So I looked at this fight and I thought, that's a super high level fight in the sport. And they both agreed as well. We spoke to them both pre-fight, and they both agreed that it was a fight between two of the best amateurs at this weight. I don't think Malik got the memo that this was meant to be 5 rounds, because he came out there, controlled the fight from the start. Unbelievable performance. Got the finish in the first round. Like I said, he looks like he's going to be a top prospect. He already is a top prospect. It looks like he's going to be a top prospect when he gets to the pro levels. Did ask him after the fight if he's thinking about turning pro, but he said he's got a couple more fights lined up this year. I think he wants to garner a little bit more experience before he makes that move. Like I said, I think he could do it now, but he obviously, him and his coaches, they know what's best. It's really testament to kind of someone's drive and determination. I think he had a couple of fights in Saudi Arabia, and then came over here, and he's just absolutely wiping the floor with all competition as well. I think it turns him to 9-1 now. 9-1 as an amateur is a fantastic record. Amateur's not really a place where you have to concern yourself about records. I think it's more garnering that experience, getting the comfortability in the cage, the familiarity with how you are as a fighter, your skills, your mindset. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what Malik can do. Malik can do in the future. Yeah, great team as well. AVT. It's a gym that opened from about 2 streets away from where I grew up in Leeds, and it's a gym that I always like to see the guys do well from. They smash it every single show that they're at. They smash it. They have a fantastic team there. Danny Mitchell, everyone, all their coaches are unbelievable. So yeah, great to see one of their guys get the win as well. As for Jack, like I said, Jack's a great fighter, and he just came up short on the night. But I don't think this is gonna hinder him at all. He was visibly frustrated after the fight, which is understandable. But I think he'll be absolutely fine. Like I said, people still think he's one of the top talents in the sport, and he'll go on to do great things. I'm sure. Such a young lad, and yeah, like I said, we'll keep an eye out for Jack's next fight, and I'm sure he'll manage to regain that form and get back in the win column. Onto the heavyweight title, and another guy from AVT, Turia Asaboro. He fought Giovanni Olaconori. This was a really weird fight because for the first 4 rounds, Giovanni he looked like he was in control, but never really threatening. Like Turia looked kind of comfortable and assured, how he always is, because I've seen him fight a couple of times now, and he always does look assured with himself, relaxed, confident, sort of like he's not really asked is kind of how I'd describe it. And I know that's not the case whatsoever, because he's a really dedicated fighter. But I think that's just kind of like the aura that he has around is a bit of like lackadaisical, and maybe that works in his advantage when he's in the ring. Like I said, for the first 4 rounds, Giovanni had top control most of the time. He looked like he was sailing his way to a unanimous decision victory and getting the belt from Turia. And then the fifth round came, and Giovanni looked physically exhausted. He looked like he had nothing left in the tank. He still managed to go in there, get the fight to the floor, get on top. But I think Turia recognised that he was the fresher fighter, flip position, and then finished him pretty much straight away out on the ground with strikes. It was one of the. I'll talk about it because I think quite a few people at the show are going to talk about it. It was one of the strangest post-fight happenings that I've ever seen at one of these shows. It took him about 15 minutes to get Giovanni off the ground, and then they eventually got him up on a stool, walking out the cage, and then he just laid on the floor outside the steps. So the whole show had to be abandoned for about 30 minutes whilst they got the paramedics to get him on a stretcher. Like I said, I hope he's okay. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I don't know whether it was a bit of fatigue or if he was just physically gutted and mixed with a bit of fatigue. He was just really, really struggling. But no, it was one of the strangest things that I've seen. It kind of reminded me of Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000. I think it was Elite XC. Can't remember the promotion exactly, but it was kind of like that from Giovanni. It was really strange, but nevertheless, great win for Turia. I got the chance to speak to him after the fight. He was over the moon. He said that he, even after the fourth round, he said he knew he was winning this fight. He said it was just a matter of when he was going to get the finish. He said he knew that he had 100% more skills, 100% more gas in the tank than Giovanni. So even though, like I said, he dropped the first 4 rounds, he still seemed really confident that he was getting the finish in the fifth round, and that's exactly what he did. Told me he's got a fight in the O2 Arena in July as well. So I don't know what promotion that'll be for. Like I said, it can't be the UFC, no amateurs. Cage Warriors there in the O2 Arena in July. So you never know. Keep an eye out for that. But no, fantastic performance, Terry. Like I said, heart and determination, and just like I said to him after the fight, there's not many heavyweights that can really go at his level for 5 rounds. Like I said, he looks just how he does in the fifth round as he does in the first round. So I think that gives him a massive advantage over some of these heavyweights that expect the fights to be done first, possibly the second round. Moving on to the pro fights of the evening, we had Charles Joyner versus Liam Dunn. Charles, one of top prospects in kickboxing, fantastic kickboxer. Got a big following. A lot of pros following, like Tom Aspinall. See Tom Aspinall commenting on his posts. Followed by like Jimmy Wallhead. All the UK guys seem to have a lot of props of this guy, and Liam Dunn's tough guy. It's just a bit of a shame. Like I said, they were told to get ready after the amateur heavyweight title fight, and then they had to kind of wait around for half an hour. I don't know what that does to your motivation, your adrenaline. I can't really put myself in that position and understand what that kind of does for yourself. Frantic fight for as long as it lasted. Liam did exactly what he should have done, which is get in there, get the takedown, get the fight to the floor, and work for a submission. I thought, and I'll hold my hands up. As soon as the fight got to the floor and he took his back, he took Charles's back. I was like, yeah, this is done, because that rear naked choke looked tight. It looked like it was in, and it looked like there was no way out for Charles. Testament to his toughness and his training, and his natural ability and heart to fight out of that submission and then get it back to the feet and land a picture perfect liver kick, which dropped Liam in the first. It dropped him. There was no coming back from that. Unbelievable knockout. And it was how it was going to go if the fight was staying on the feet. In my opinion, Charles is a fantastic kickboxer, but the technique and just the precision to of that body kick was a thing of beauty. Charles, like I said, Charles is a great kickboxer, and he's transitioning over into MMA. And I don't think he's going to be at the amateur level for long. I think he's just getting some rounds in, getting some experience, and then he's going to jump into the pro ranks. And I think he could do big things in this sport. He's massive. He's a huge reach. He's got the perfect build for MMA, in my opinion. Long limbs, a lot of leverage. Great power, accuracy. As soon as he gets the takedown defense shored up and the wrestling, he could be a massive problem on the regional circuit. Even beyond that, he could be a huge issue. And then moving on to the main event, Jordan ONeill versus Joe Ambler, Mr. Almighty himself, Joe Ambler. Like I said, just before I started going through the card, Almighty don't give you easy fights. They're not that type of show. Like I said, I'm not dropping names, but there's a few regional shows who will give fighters who they're favourable to easy matchups to kind of like build them up, especially in their first pro fight. Their first pro fight, you meant to just get a feel for the pro, get a feel for being able to use the knees to the head and the elbows. That's not what happened here. Like I said, Joe's Mr. Almighty himself. He's a two-way champion at the amateur level at Almighty. And he got put in there against Jordan ONeill, who he lost his first 3 amateur fights. And then since then, I said, what happened after those first 3 amateur fights, Jordan? And he said, I learned how to wrestle. And then, like I said, he's won like 6 in a row since then, moved on to the pro ranks, and he looked fantastic. It's such a shame for Joe, because it was like a homecoming to his home show, putting on a performance for his first pro fight. But Joe's got a lot of heart and a lot of mental fortitude that I think he'll be absolutely fine. He'll be a bit disappointed for a couple of days, but he'll go reset, and I'm sure he'll be back even stronger. But as far as the performance goes for Jordan, flawless. Caught him in the first 30 seconds or so with a shot just above the ear. Obviously, that knocks your equilibrium off. It can take rounds to recover from that fully. And I don't think Joe ever kind of got his wits about him again. I think he was always compromised from that position. He was trying to then wrestle when it looked like that wasn't really the game plan coming into it, but he just kept trying to wrestle. Jordan did fantastic to repel those attacks, and ended up getting him against the cage, getting him on the floor, and finishing him with a slick guillotine. Like I said, Jordan looked fantastic, and after speaking to him, he's got an aura of confidence about him. Looks like he could be a real. I've said this about a lot of fighters, but a real issue to a lot of the other guys. He's fought light heavyweight, so he's used to fighting people that are bigger than him, and he's a big lad himself. Obviously, packs a lot of power. Has that wrestling acumen and the submission game now, which he said is massively important to his progression as a fighter. So yeah, just a great main event. Like I said, unfortunate for Joe. I was a bit gutted. I like Joe. Joe's a really good guy. He's given me a lot of his time after fights. Always been nothing but polite to me. But no, over the moon for Jordan as well. He was a top bloke as well. So in general, fantastic show. Like I said, by the guys at Almighty. A few stars there. Harry and George Hardwick, they were there. and Andrew Fisher, he was there fighting for Octagon in a couple of weeks' time. George, hopefully getting into the UFC. I did ask him a question, but he said he wasn't allowed to tell me. Wasn't allowed to tell me too much, but no, fantastic show. Can't wait for the next one. Unfortunately, I can't make it to the next one, but I will be at the rest of the year's Almighty shows. But now on to the MMA Mindset Awards for the card. Like I said, super difficult decisions to make. There was a few that could have fallen into each category, but I'll start with submission of the night. My submission of the night goes to Jack Banks. Unbelievable, like I said. It was just heart determination, fantastically slick triangle choke. And I think more not the submission, but the circumstances in which he got the submission is kind of what has swung this for me. Being that compromised on that leg and then being able to transition to the triangle choke, lock it up, and still have that squeeze and to lock it up and finish it is fantastic. So yeah, that's my submission of the night. All of these are going to go out on graphics on social media as well. I've made some graphics so I can tag all the fighters in it and they can share them around. Next fight of the night. Honourable mention to the Matty Crooks versus Ajani Sturge fight. That was originally going to be my fight of the night, just for the pure frenzy and chaoticness of the fight. That was going to be my fight of the night, and that is an honourable mention. But Jamal Raja versus Luke Richardson, I've watched that fight back, and the technique and the display from both men was unbelievable. A great fight. I say unbelievable a lot, by the way. Fantastic fight, and it's just something that kind of stuck in my head after the card. I was driving home and thinking that was the best fight I've seen on an amateur card in a while, just in terms of technique. So yeah, they're going to take my fight of the night, and then knockout of the night. There's no real other one for it. Charles Joyner, the liver kick knockout was a thing of beauty. Just perfect placement, no wind up in the shot. Everything came from the hips, and it was a fantastic knockout. I don't think that's the first one we're going to see from Charles Joyner either. I think he's going to be dropping a lot of pros with that kick. I did mention actually earlier that it was he wasn't going to be an amateur for long. That was actually his first his first pro fight. He went straight into being a pro, so I got that wrong earlier on. But yeah, fantastic performance by Charles Joyner. Like I said, all these guys, I'm going to stick these out on graphics on the social media pages, and we'll get them all tagged, and hopefully these guys will share them about. Really excited to keep this going. Obviously, I'm going to improve with the podcast as the weeks go on. I'm going to keep getting better, keep doing more things, keep growing it. But yeah, if you've watched today, if you took the time out your day just to have a watch or a listen, either on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate it. Next weekend, Golden Ticket Fight Promotions 22. They've got a great card in store. Golden Ticket's probably my home show, the show where it all started for me, with the first show that I attended as media. So really looking forward to that. And we'll have an episode coming out on the Monday after that, just reviewing just like another regional roundup show. On the weekends that I don't have a regional card to go to or to watch, we'll just be doing a normal podcast, maybe speaking through some of the big talking points of the week, speaking through the UFC card if there's one that weekend. But no, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, come back next week. We've got the regional roundup again. But no, thank you very much. Cheers, guys.